howdy ho. Another day has come. Good morning. It's 7 a.m. Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. Tis April Fool's Day. Don't get fooled. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, taking your calls at 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. Wow, we had some rock and roll thunderstorms moving by a lot of New Jersey, especially late last night. Today, though, different story, just breezy, sunny, a bit breezy today. Highs in the low 50s, maybe mid 50s in some spots. Let's head to meteorologist Bill Evans with the first check of the. Wait a second, you're not Bill
Oh,
Evans. What is this?
April Fool.
Thank you. Hello. I just talked to Bill yesterday, too, by the way. He says
Oh,
hello.
nice. Nice.
Meteorologist
Yeah.
Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning, my friend.
Thank you, Ken. Good morning to you. Yeah, those storms did not disappoint last night, especially with the tornado warning through Monmouth County that happened around 8:30 last night. Rolled through the state. There were some impressive storms. Now, like you said, we're quiet this morning, but with the impressive amount of rainfall that fell in that short period of time, almost 2 inches of rain in about a 2-hour span. They're from back over in the suburbs there by Jackson through Trenton, up toward Edison, and even up in the northeastern corner. Lots of trees down this morning, plenty of big ponds on the roads due to all of the heavy flooding, and even through right down toward Tom's River, Berkeley, Waretown, Barnegat, all these towns along the parkway picking up serious amounts of rainfall. Now, with the temperatures that are much cooler this morning, the cold front did its job, and with the storms exiting just after midnight last night, left in its wake some 30s in the northwestern corner of New Jersey, all the way down to 50 in Cape May. So we'll see a little bit of a milder trend today, but it's still quite breezy at 7:02. Gusts upwards of 28 miles per hour in Sussex, 25-mile-per-hour gusts in Trenton. And that northwesterly wind will keep the air nice and dry today. It'll also keep it much cooler. We're 18 degrees cooler right now than this time yesterday in Mount Holly and Camden. A little bit cooler there toward Morristown and Newark. Look at the storms. A big line moved through last night, exited just after midnight with the last of the rain there in South Jersey by around 4 a.m. And now this morning we're left in the clear. So with all of the dry weather forecast for today, it'll look very pleasant. Lots of sunshine, clear sky, but much cooler. Temperatures, like Ken said, don't budge past the mid-50s at best, even though it'll be bright and beautiful. 56 is your high in Tom's River, 56 in Camden. Back over toward Morristown and Newark, mid-50s. With the cooler weather returning tonight, tomorrow morning starts off at or below freezing in many spots in northern New Jersey, 30 in Sussex, 32 in Morristown. And then that northeasterly breeze switches direction to blow due east by tomorrow afternoon. So those clouds return with that marine air, giving the low clouds, maybe a little bit of fog and drizzle by the end of the day tomorrow, setting the stage for some light rain Thursday. But by the afternoon, the warm front arrives and we're back in the 70s come Thursday afternoon. So this is that crazy, late March, early April weather that sends temperatures 20-degree swings in just a matter of hours. And I think we could even reach the 80s in some parts of New Jersey by the end of the day Thursday before the sun sets, even right before sunset Thursday evening. 80 up in Newark on Thursday, but it's still 55 down in LBI with that breeze off of the water. Friday, also cloudy, likely some showers around. Temperatures hold in the 50s. And then this is the trend for the weekend with kind of a gray scene around, mist, drizzle, light on and off showers, and temperatures in the 50s going forward into Saturday and Sunday. So the next few days, seeing a little bit of a warming trend throughout Thursday with that midday quick sprinkle and then some more rain ahead on Friday. It's rain we need, certainly, but it came kind of a little hard, too fast all at once last night, Ken, as those storms moved in. No confirmed reports of the tornado. I checked the Weather Service's updates, and they're not sending any crews out to look for any surveyed tornado damage. So the rotation that was caught on radar last night looked like it was just on radar and may not have reached the ground there in Monmouth County. But still impressive to see. We did get our tornado warning last night around 8:30 in New Jersey.
As you said, and you said there was, as of yesterday, this time they said a 2% chance last night. So the fact that, I mean, it's amazing how accurate the computers have become. That if there's rotation, so for people, I only understand from having been around you meteorologists for 30 years, that the rotation could happen up, like it could only come down 1,000 feet, could be 1,000 feet off the ground and never
Right.
quite make it to the ground, right? But that's still rotation the computers pick up.
And impressive that the storm that formed that tornado warning last night was captured on radar. The radome over in Lakewood, New Jersey, not too far away there from where that rotation was picked up in Monmouth County. So the radar was able to scan the lowest layers of the atmosphere, like you said, about 1,000 feet above the ground, allowing for some really good measurements of that wind within the base of the cloud there. I was looking on the radar app. It measured about 60, 70 miles an hour. So yeah, that's, low grade EF0 tornado if that circulation did in fact occur. But it's not a tornado until it touches the ground.
Right. Exactly. Otherwise, it's just a funnel. We see a funnel, right? But if it doesn't touch, it's not a tornado. Meteorologist Mike Favetta is always fascinating, and thankfully nobody hurt, but we do have a lot of trees down, flooding all over the area. So lots of extra travel time is the name of the game this morning. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you as always. And thanks for all the heads up yesterday on this. We do have, as I mentioned, some traffic issues because of what Mike was talking about. So there's flooding right now on Route 1 southbound south of Sand Hill Road in South Brunswick. The right shoulder is closed from all the pooling water there. What happens is from an entire winter of leaves falling and branches falling, any of the sewer grates on the sides of the roads, even the highways, those get filled with leaves and dirt and garbage. And then when you get a heavy rain like this, the stuff washes to the sewer grate. Now the sewer grate can't drain water, at least not quickly. So this is what's happening in a lot of the area. We have a downed tree on Route 18 northbound, north of exit 19, which is Route 34 in Colts Neck Township. One right lane closed. Use caution there. Let's take a look at the New Jersey Turnpike entrance to the GWB. Now, remember 24 hours ago, it was flying. That was a Monday. This is a Tuesday. We said Mondays and Fridays tend to be okay. It's amazing how 24 hours later, look at this, upper and lower level. In fact, if you look on the right side is the upper level. There's a truck, two trucks. I don't know if that looks like they're just stopped. No one can get around them. I wonder what the deal is with them, because there's nobody in front of. There he goes. He's moving. So this guy's like, let me illegally use the shoulder because these people are annoying me. Don't use the shoulder. You could kill somebody. Very dangerous, and you will get a serious ticket if you try to do that. But this is a slow go right now. When that happens, at that point, you're talking about a 45 to 50 minute crossing to the Manhattan side from New Jersey. We also have problems on the Garden State Parkway, disabled vehicle, GSP, northbound at exit 127 in Woodbridge Township. The right shoulder is blocked. And we have another problem, disabled vehicle, Garden State, southbound north of exit 135 Central Avenue in Clark Township with a right lane blocked there. And of course, we do have a downed tree as well. Route 18 northbound, north of exit 19, Route 34 in Colts Neck Township. I think I may have mentioned that. Let's take a look at our I-80 cam. You can imagine with all the, look at that. Wow. So I-80, that's that same area, exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. You could see Route 15 off to your right there. Everybody being detoured off because of I-80 being closed. 5 weeks before any lanes open up westbound, 7 weeks before any lanes open up eastbound, but they are going to get it done the right way. Our time now is 7:08. Senator Cory Booker is still on the floor of the Senate. He launched a marathon speech on the Senate floor, aiming at protesting President Trump's policies by speaking for as long as he physically could. Let's take a look at the Senate floor right now. So he has been there since 7 p.m. last night. So it's over 12 hours. I don't know if they count bathroom breaks. I have to check that out. I think in the filibuster rule, you're allowed to go to you have like a minute. So literally you duck behind a curtain and you go. I think that's the rule, because you got to go to the bathroom at some point. I give him credit for stamina, but he's being a dope. And here's why. Here's why he's a dope. This ain't a filibuster. All right. So it counts for crap. You know what he's doing right now? He's keeping the poor security guards there all night on your dime. And he's keeping the electricity on all night on your dime. And whatever people have to manage and run the facility are there on your dime, on OT. And he's accomplishing nothing, because this is not a filibuster. A filibuster is when a senator does what this guy is doing right now. I'll call him a dope. He's a nice guy, but he's being a dope. A filibuster is when you do that, but it prevents a vote or a nomination. He's not doing either one. The Senate closed for the night and went home. He's just being a dope. He's trying to get video, and he's getting video attention all over the country, but it's doing bupkis. This is accomplishing nothing. He's just being a grandstander. because he's trying to get his name recognition up. So he says he's trying to spotlight Trump's evil moves to cut federal agencies and boost deportations. I guess you want us to waste $200 billion a year, Corey. Let's let it come out of your pocket. He's promising to disrupt Senate business and echo the call of the late John Lewis for good trouble. Nobody knows how long he will go on, but the record stands at over 24 hours. At some point, he's got to stop. Can he outlast his own 2016 filibuster mark of 15 hours? Almost. Another 2 hours and 55 minutes, he will. Technically, again, it is not a filibuster once again. Although I guarantee if you check lamestream media, they're all calling it a filibuster right now, I promise you. 7:10, New Jersey school districts are set to lose $85 million in COVID relief funds after the Trump administration revoked extensions for spending federal dollars. 20 districts, including Newark and Patterson, face cuts to projects aimed at improving student health and safety. The governor's office calls it reckless, leaving little time for backup plans. Education Secretary Linda McMahon says extensions were not justified. Districts can now submit proposals on a project-by-project basis for reconsideration. Meanwhile, the Newark Board of Ed has approved up to $2.8 million for catering. Yeah, catering. Over 2 years, funding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners for events like parent-teacher conferences and board meetings. This is according to an investigation by tapinto.com. The menu features Latino cuisine, soul food, pizza, more from 14 local restaurants. Make sure the catering is good. The teachers union says it helps staff working late, though some schools fare better than others depending on the neighborhood. Does your company cater every time you show up for a meeting? Not mine. No offense, Gerald. The district's $1.5 billion budget includes those funds, but it's unclear how much has been spent so far. New Jersey residents' budgets are being squeezed with soaring energy prices. On Friday, the New Jersey State Senate held hearings in Newark with the Board of Public Utilities. The goal was to get to the bottom of why utility bills could climb as much as 20% this summer. Senate Republican leader Anthony Bucco says the hearings were one-sided.
And while the Democrats would like to put the blame on everybody else but themselves, the fact of the matter is they've had control of this State House for 8 years now, complete control, and the policies that they've implemented, moving New Jersey to complete electrification in a short period of time, has increased demand, and unfortunately, as the demand increased, the supply side couldn't keep up. And that's a result of this administration trying to make New Jersey the California of the East Coast.
Very smart man, Senator Bucco is, and Senator Bucco is going to be joining us live on the air later this morning, so please tune in for that. 7:13, investigators say a New Jersey state trooper has shot his dog at his Wayne home. This happened last week, leading to his arrest. They say the trooper also assaulted an officer, a Wayne officer, outside Wayne Police Headquarters. Officials say it happened very early last Thursday morning at a condo complex in Wayne. Folks living in the complex say they heard noise, possibly a gunshot. Wayne police were called. They say they found a man in a parking lot acting erratically. Officials say the man was later identified as New Jersey State Trooper Alexander Lark. Police say Lark also vandalized a stop sign. He was charged with aggravated assault, resisting arrest, criminal mischief, and possessing a weapon for an unlawful purpose. Well, you'd think by now that people know it is illegal and dangerous to text and drive. Yet, it still happens way too often. In fact, I was recently surprised when I rented a car that had a feature that beeped when you get stopped or when you are stopped at a light and the car in front of you starts to pull away. Apparently, the automation beep, 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 beeps in case you're not paying attention that the car is moving away, indicating you're probably on your phone. So they actually had to come up with something for that. Amazing. So the point is, you would never need such a feature if people weren't so distracted while driving. Law enforcement, though, is now cracking down in New Jersey. Here's a heads up. Police are going to be on very specific patrol to spot anybody who is texting and driving. If you get caught, you're not going to get out of it. So please, as of right now, heads up, New Jersey police throughout the state are going to be cracking down on texting and driving or driving while distracted. So please, as Pam is showing us, these are people, clearly they are not distracted. They're driving nicely. But definitely, yes, Pam's saying, I drive when I pay attention, or I pay attention when I drive. There we go. Thank you, Pam, for that. A very bad day for one New Jersey man, though, as he was arrested Friday at Newark Liberty Airport. He tried to bring a gun through a security checkpoint. The unidentified man is the 7th person caught with a gun at a TSA checkpoint at Newark this year. 21 people were stopped last year compared to 20 in 2023 and 14 in 2022. Remember the rule: guns can be transported on a flight if they are unloaded, packed in a locked, hard-sided case, and declared to the airline to be stored in the jet's belly. You cannot walk on with it. A person can be fined up to $15,000 if you have a gun at a security checkpoint. You could face criminal charges, so don't do it. If you're in New York, you definitely will face criminal charges. Just beware. And have you ever tried to buy a ticket for a concert, Pam, only to find that the ticket scalpers and resale agencies already scooped them all up, and now they're like $1,000 for a 20th row seat? If you want to buy a ticket now, though, you'll have to pay a scalper hundreds of dollars, right? Well, you probably asked why nothing could be done about this. Let's show the video there, Pam. Many would say it's because lots of people are making money keeping things exactly as they are, but along came President Trump. Now the president has signed an executive order to protect Americans from exploit. We don't have the video. Oh, it's a sod. I'm sorry. All right, so let's play the sod. I'll shut up.
Like anyone who's bought a concert ticket in the last decade, maybe 20 years, no matter what your politics are, knows it is a conundrum. You buy a ticket for $100, by the time you check out, it's $170. You don't know what you can charge for it, but more importantly, these bots, you know, they come in to get all the good tickets to your favorite shows you want to go to, and then they're relisted immediately for sometimes a 400 or 500% markup. And the artists don't see any of that money. And, you know, ultimately, I think this is a great first step. I would love down the road if there would be some legislation that we could actually put a cap on the resale of tickets. And I'm a capitalist and a deregulation guy, but they've tried this in some places in Europe, and it seems to be the only thing that's us as artists be able to get the tickets into the hands of the fans at the prices we set.
See, the problem is a lot of states like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, they have rules that you can only sell a ticket for like 5% or 10% above whatever the rate is. I'm not sure the number above what you buy it for, or above the listed price. What happens is these bots that Kid Rock was talking about, they're in other countries. They're in Canada, they're in India, they're whatever. So you can't arrest them. They're in another country. And because of the internet, everything is done electronically. So they have the bots that the second a ticket is listed for sale, these automated AI bots pay $10 million, whatever, 20 million, buy every one of them up. Now they resell them at, as he said, 5-10 times the amount. You know, it's a gimmick, but there's got to be a way to stop it in the electronic era. Block it. If you're not in it, number one, if there's a computer coming in from another country, you can't, sorry, you're not allowed to buy. We need to know what state you are in when you're buying the ticket. You can do that. Can be done. But as long as there's scarol, as we say in Italian, ain't going to happen. So this is apparently to protect tickets, exploitative ticket scalping in the concert and entertainment industry. The president is signing this executive order that would direct the Federal Trade Commission to work with the Attorney General to ensure that competition laws are enforced in the concert and entertainment industry. The order will also enforce better online ticket sales, or the BOTS Act, and it will promote its enforcement by state consumer protection authorities. And finally, from the "you have absolutely lost your mind" file, a toddler in Great Britain has been tossed out of nursery school because he was accused of being transphobic. You heard me right. He's 3. A 3-year-old child, a kid who doesn't know how to do pee-pee on his own, was kicked out of school last week because a spokesman said, hey, all pupils and staff must feel safe and protected at school and should never face violence or abuse. And this 3-year-old made homophobic and transphobic remarks. We're talking about a 3-year-old, you moron. You can't even explain what a trans or gay or bi person is when you're 3. No word on the exact incident that triggered the school to kick the child out. Here's a question. With all of the big cities in Great Britain becoming overrun by Muslims, I highly doubt that strict followers of Sharia law in Islam give a damn about pronouns and about being trans-friendly and about being gay and bi-friendly. I highly doubt that, because if you go to countries where Sharia law is the rule, it doesn't happen. Sorry about that. Anyway, this is the case. So if you go to Great Britain, they have so lost their minds with political correctness that if you are a 3-year-old, you will get tossed from school if you say something that they deem to be not friendly to the LGBT community. Give me a break. But you get what you vote for, people. Keep voting liberals over there, and this is what you get. 7:19. When we come back, politics from Trenton, like nobody else can tell the story. New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein will have the inside edge. Sunny, a bit breezy today, highs in the low to mid 50s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta returns with your full Garden State forecast, and we will take your calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching on New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. It is 7:21. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings for your Tuesday, April Fool's Day. I'm Ken Rosato, and we're taking your calls at 888-658-0234. It looks like we had a Zoom call that I just missed. Darn it, that would have been interesting. 888-658-0234. Sunny, a bit breezy today, highs in the low to mid 50s. Let's do a Zoom call right now with meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Morning to you, Ken. Yeah, those Zoom calls, I feel like they never get old. You know, we're sitting on some webinars yesterday, and then people are breaking up, and they're they're freezing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 2020.
The dog running into the picture.
I know. And please pause while I share my screen. Well, sharing the screen behind me, we've got beautiful weather today as compared to the downpours that came down last night. More than 1.5 inches of rain for most of central New Jersey. Look at that dark shade of green with the embedded yellows. There were some 2-inch rainfall amounts right where you see that yellow shade. And it's right along 195 there where it meets the turnpike. So some impressive rain. Where the worst of the drought remains in New Jersey, and currently that's in northern New Jersey, up in Sussex County. Not much rain at all, not even 1/2 inch of rainfall. But as those storms move through, barreling through central New Jersey, Trenton, Toms River, Mount Holly, even toward Atlantic City, more than 1 inch of rain for you, even over by Camden. So yes, impressive rainfall amounts. We saw the thunder, we saw the lightning, even some small hail, and of course those gusty winds. Now that has all moved on out to the east. So our forecast today is nice and dry. It's a little bit breezy right now. With our skies clearing out shortly, we'll get loads of sun today. It'll look very pleasant, and even the future radar keeps us nice and clear through the end of the day. This is something I wanted to show yesterday, and I know it's hard to see the numbers here, but basically it shows every year going back to the 1980s how many tornadoes were reported in New Jersey. And the one spike you see here was 40 tornadoes way back in 2021. So yeah, not only do we get tornadoes here in New Jersey, we get dozens by the year, with the peak season happening during June and July. That's the little peak you see there, starting off in April, going through May, June, and July. That will be our kind of distribution of how many tornadoes we see per month. And it could be on the order of 10 to 12 during peak season here in the Garden State. So we had one tornado warning last night. Again, not confirmed, didn't reach the ground, didn't touch down. But with temperatures today, that'll feel much cooler at the shore from Toms River and Point Pleasant. It'll be breezy throughout the day. And with that northwesterly wind in Clinton and Flemington, you'll feel it even though the sun is out for most of the day. A lot of cool breezes making it feel quite chilly. Allergens will be a thing today. The tree pollen back to the moderate level. You will certainly feel that. Might even peak at high before the rain comes back in for Thursday into Friday, as the weather, while it's not warm, the pollen and the trees respond to that sunshine, allowing for them to produce their pollen going into each day. Flemington and Trenton, wind gusts right now 28 miles per hour, so those pollens will be blowing in the breeze even through this afternoon, and gusts will be on the order of 20 to 25 miles per hour today. Later on this evening, winds relax, won't be as breezy tomorrow, but the winds switch direction. Notice they start to blow in from the east, and that will pull in a very cool breeze, especially especially at the shore tomorrow, because ocean temperatures are still in the upper 40s today, and that'll make for a cool feel all around New Jersey. At least with that sunshine today, we get back up to a 5, which is the moderate level. That is one tick away from high, so you could burn in just under an hour on fair unprotected skin, given how strong that sun is, even this time of year. There goes our storm. We enjoy the clear air today. What you see here is a lot of that high cloud cover, which returns today to New Jersey, but still just enough sun to make it look good this afternoon and even going into tomorrow. Temperatures hold in the 50s today, maybe upper 40s only in the northwestern corner, but it turns chilly tonight. We're back down in the 20s and 30s to start off tomorrow, only climbing into the 40s with that easterly breeze tomorrow afternoon. And then another round of clouds comes in for Thursday. And I think Thursday morning might have a quick little sprinkle with a weak front that passes through. Temperatures try to warm with that warm front by the afternoon into the 70s. And then we'll be sitting pretty in the low 80s by Thursday evening as that warm front does its job. The next front doesn't pass through until later Friday night into Saturday, and that will bring back another round of showers and also cooler weather, and that sets the stage for kind of a cloudy, drizzly, on and off showery weekend. Doesn't look very pretty, but I don't think it'll be pouring rain throughout the entire weekend, just spotty mist and drizzle going into Saturday and Sunday. So there's our Saturday time frame. You see the rain Sunday, some more showers come into New Jersey, and then we finally clear out by Monday afternoon, bringing back Tuesday, clear sky, and most of next week looks to be quite dry and pretty. So a few days there of wet weather. Unfortunately, it times out just in time for the weekend. Speaking of, this weekend's weather will be rather chilly, rather cool. Temperatures hold in the 50s, and maybe we get up to the low 60s with that cool and cloudy feel by Sunday afternoon. So some pretty wet weather until we get to the weekend, but a little bit of a mild spell by Thursday if we actually make it into the low 80s yet again. It is April, so we get these kind of big temperature swings back and forth, but next week is looking rather cool. We'll tell you more about it with the 7-day forecast, Ken. That's coming up. We'll look at the first week of April's complete weather in just a few minutes.
Love it. I love it. It's April. I'm sorry, I'm just a little excited. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. 7:27 right now, 42 degrees, a little humid yet in some spots. Now time for politics from Trenton. Explain like nobody else can do it. Here is New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein with the Inside Edge.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Garnett. It is Tuesday, April 1st, and welcome to the Inside Edge. We used to live in a more relaxed, less intense time when people could take a step back from the ferocity of the political arena and maybe play some jokes and have some fun. We really can't do that today. People are wired pretty tightly, especially when it comes to their politics. Some of you might remember my days at Politics NJ. I mean, it was 25 years ago when April 1st meant a good joke. And that's not something we can do anymore. There's so much misinformation out there that coming up with something playful, I mean, we just can't do that anymore. But I still have some fond memories of those old days. I mean, one year I wrote that an investor group headed by Warren Kramer and Bob Torricelli were buying the Bergen record, and that really petrified some of their reporters. The Torch hated the record, and for good reason. One of the Borgs emailed me and asked if we could please make it clear it was an April Fool's Day joke, that their staff was panicked. Torricelli fielded a number of press calls when that story broke, and I mean, the senator didn't need to be primed. Bob knew exactly what to do, and the Star Ledger, they thought the joke played on their competitor was hysterical, so they wrote a news story about it. But when it comes to pranks, I wasn't in Steve Kornacki's league. Now, back then, Kornacki was a young reporter for Politics NJ, and he pulled off two incredible back-to-back japes. In 2004, he wrote a story that former Governor Jim Florio was considering a challenge to Governor McGreevey in the Democratic primary. That got picked up by WCBS, who didn't check their calendar. And on April 1st, 2005, Kornacki wrote his masterpiece. This was a couple days before the filing deadline, and he wrote that Bill Bradley had decided to run for governor to take on John Corzine in the Democratic primary. And that story started spreading like gangbusters. Corzine and his team were initially panicked. It took them a little longer than it should have to realize that that this was a joke. My favorite was the quote that Steve wrote from Bob Menendez, who was then a congressman hoping to be appointed to the U.S. Senate if Corzine became governor. The Menendez quote was, "There is a grassroots Corzine movement afoot, and it has nothing to do with the so-called party bosses. The people want John Corzine. There is no room for Bill Bradley." That's all I have today. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back tomorrow.
The man is a walking encyclopedia. He is unbelievable. David Wildstein, he does it all from his memory. No scripts. You notice that? Unbelievable. Just a treasure in New Jersey politics right there. It is 7:31, 42 degrees. The phone lines are open. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. When we come back, Montclair is considered one of the culinary epicenters of New Jersey, and it has a hot spot, we'll call it. It's a 2-year-old, but that's considered relatively new for Montclair. And they've had the town talking. We're going to talk to the owner, Luigino Parmigiana, restaurant owner, and what makes his place the success that it is. Also, meteorologist Mike Favetta, our own Luigino Parmigiana. He tells us it's going to be sunny, a bit breezy today. Nothing like yesterday and last night with the big storms. That's gone. All of that blew out. Now, sunshine, bright blue skies, highs in the low to mid 50s. The full Garden State forecast in just a minute. You are watching ONNJ Mornings, seen daily at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. We also stream live on Rumble and Twitch at twitch.tv/OnNewJersey. And we're coming right back. Very good morning to you. 7:32. It is 42 degrees. Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. Yes, that is April Fool's Day. So be careful, beware at work and among your friends and family. You might get April Fooled, meaning you might be the April Fool. Be careful. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. Sunny, but breezy today after some really heavy thunderstorms moved through much of New Jersey. Even some warnings of tornadoes in some spots. Fortunately, nothing hit the ground, so therefore no official tornado. Sunny and breezy today, we mentioned, highs low to mid 50s. So it's going to be just the opposite from last night. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the detailed Garden State forecast. Mike, I need coffee. Good morning.
It's one of those mornings. Yeah, it was late last night with the thunderstorms rolling through New Jersey. But I got to tell you, April Fool's, one of my best April Fool's pranks, Ken, and I can't wait to come up with another one, was I printed out this letter from NASA on NASA letterhead with their logo and everything, the address in DC, saying that I was chosen as one of the local TV meteorologists to be sent up to space in the International Space Station. And people were going bananas on social, on Facebook, like, wow, we knew you could do it. This is great. It was at like the end of the day when I get home and check my mail, right? So people had like thought that the day was over, no more April Fool's jokes. And then the next day I had to own it. But it was I had people going for a while. Yeah.
Unbelievable. I got to watch you. Got to beware of you. Right.
But I think everyone knows, I work closely with some of the NASA contractors, and especially with the climate change communication aspect of that. So they're like, oh, this is fitting. Mike works with them. Why not? He's a shoo-in. But here I am, still on terra firma. So never worked out. But I don't know. We'll have to come up with something new. Maybe next year. We'll
Zoom to the moon.
Yeah, right. Well, we've got some great weather on the way for today. If you're looking out, looking up, you'll see lots of sun throughout this afternoon. A very different scene as opposed to the clouds that were around from yesterday. But then the clouds make a quick return tomorrow. And with that, an easterly breeze keeping us very cool with some showers that return by Thursday. It's not necessarily hot on Thursday afternoon, but it'll warm into the upper 70s, maybe hit the low 80s in some spots of New Jersey briefly before rain returns on Friday and cools us back down into the 50s. Nice clear visibility this morning, a big change from yesterday's fog. We are clear and we're staying dry throughout this afternoon. So as temperatures climb into the upper 50s at the coast, it's a northwest wind keeping that 49-degree ocean air far away from the coast, even toward Avalon and Cape May, 58 and 57 degrees for you. Same back over toward Camden and Glassboro, so not much of a sea breeze today thanks to that gusty northwesterly wind. With temperatures that should reach the mid-50s, and they will across most of the New Jersey this afternoon. Sunrise nice and early at 6:40 this morning. Sunset getting later and later each day, now at 7:22. So here's the clearing that occurred throughout the early part of this morning. Rain is long gone, and we'll stay dry from this point forward until we get to the weekend. That's our next chance for some wet weather. I think as soon as Thursday, a few spotty sprinkles. Same Friday, sprinkle here or there, but the next round of wet weather that'll need you to carry the umbrella around is Saturday into Sunday. Higher chances of rain there, and then you see that chance of rain drop off by Monday. Great air quality as long as that northwest wind is blowing, keeps all the pollutants away, and will stay nice and dry even into this afternoon. So the future cast on the broader picture showing the clear sky thanks to the high pressure keeps us nice and dry, but as that high slides eastward, it pulls in that easterly wind and allows for more clouds by tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. Then the next front pushes by. Weak doesn't give us the storms like last night, but provides a few spotty showers throughout the day on Thursday and then clearing throughout Friday. But I think, again, Saturday and Sunday still unsettled with that front not completely clearing through and sticking around nearby. So there is unsettled weather this weekend. Going into tomorrow with the clear sky on Wednesday, it looks cooler, especially with the clouds into the afternoon. And then the warm front pushes in, bringing our highs back up about 25 degrees into the mid-70s. Throughout Friday and Saturday, we see another cooling trend. Lots of clouds on Saturday, maybe a late day break of sun Sunday, and then we start to dry things out again by Monday. Shore points are not very different, with the exception of tomorrow. That easterly breeze is going to feel very chilly thanks to that wind off of the water, so you likely only reach the low 50s as a high. Thursday sees a little bit more sun, not reaching the 70s, but upper 60s I think is a sure bet, and then a quick chance of a shower by Friday. Saturday and Sunday, again, more clouds than sun and a few spotty showers around, and then I think we see a little bit of clearing by Monday. So overall, it's a very April-like forecast with temperatures holding in the 50s, 60s, maybe getting to the 70s, and a few chances of rain each and every day. What an April-like forecast, certainly with those storms that came through last night, setting the stage as March was kind of going out kicking and screaming, Ken.
I don't like kicking and screaming. Terrible. Of course, I was the ranting child, so I was the one kicking and screaming. But that's a whole other story. We'll talk about that on another show. All right, Mike, thank you very much for that. It is now 7:38 and checking traffic. We do have kind of a mess. Let's take a look again at that inbound GWB. This is the 8095 approach. Oh, thank you. Well, it's all right. They heard me. They moved it. So that's as you're going under that overpass. That's one of the exit ramps from the bridge that twists around on top that takes you into like Ridgefield Park and whatnot. But you could see it's very slow. When it's that slow going into the bridge or onto the bridge, at that point, you're talking about a 45, 50-minute delay into Manhattan. And that's both upper and lower level. It doesn't look like you're getting much relief on either side. So just be aware of that. You also have problems on the New Jersey Turnpike Eastern Spur, northbound at interchange 15E, Route 1 and 9 in Newark. All lanes are open, but we had an accident that was in a lane moved off to the right shoulder. Delays on Route 55 northbound approaching just south of New Jersey Route 42 in Deptford Township. All lanes are open. There are delays, though, due to volume and the sun in people's eyes this morning. And let's take a look at the I-80 cam again. Problems in both directions on I-80 as everybody's exited off at exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. Westbound lanes don't open again for 5 weeks. Eastbound lanes for 7 weeks. So please plan accordingly. It is 7:39 right now, and I'm guessing, Pam, are we going to our friend? Oh, all right. All right. There we go. Congressional Republicans are brushing off President Trump's latest comments about seeking a third term, downplaying them as a joke designed to needle the media. Even as the president insists he's serious. Trump has teased the idea of a 2028 bid for years. Initially, he was saying that he didn't really get his first term because of the whole Russia gate. He was prevented from being a president, basically. So he's saying he deserves another term. These are remarks, though, that are largely seen as an effort to mock his opponents. But he made comments over the weekend at NBC, and they were some of his most expansive yet on the idea of running for a third term, creating new questions about his intentions despite the Constitution's language barring a third term at this point. Take a listen.
Story, I know it's hypothetical right now, but if you were allowed for some reason to run for a third term, is there a thought that the Democrats could try to run Barack Obama against you?
I'd love that.
For his third term?
Boy, I'd love that. That would be a good one. I'd like that.
Well, still, Republicans in Congress largely believe that the remarks are just another barb aimed at the left. What he tends to do, the president, if you haven't caught on by now, is whenever the media narrative is going in this direction, President Trump says something insane sounding it's like, here's the sparkly object over here. And liberals in legacy media just don't have a freaking sense of humor. They don't get it. They will probably catch on maybe his last month of office. They have no sense of humor. They spent 4 years ignoring President Biden, not showing up, not having press conferences. That was fine. But then you get a president who makes comments that are obviously barbs, taking over Greenland, taking over Canada as a 51st state, etc. You would think after like 10 years of calling people like Marco Rubio, little Marco, that they would catch on, that he's probably somewhere on the spectrum. And this is not to be insulting to anybody on the spectrum, but in terms of the way he thinks very differently from us. And so when things are going that way, he says, oh, by the way, look over here. So the media narratives, it's 2 to 3 days talking about this is to run for a third term, totally taking away the story from over here that they were talking about a few days earlier. Wake up, media, or not. Leave it just the way it is because you'll keep losing elections. Just saying. It is 7:42 right now, 41 degrees. You know, I used to live right near Montclair, New Jersey. It is a fabulous community because there's tons to do, great people. It's a very diverse community. Having a successful restaurant anywhere takes tons of skill and a 24/7 commitment. My family has owned them for years. Very, very difficult. You have to have a full lifetime commitment. But having a restaurant that has a multi-week waiting list in the culinary epicenter of New Jersey, that says a lot. Luigino Parmigiano is that restaurant. And joining us this morning is owner Luigino. We call him Luigi Tripodi. Good morning
Good
to
morning.
you, Luigi. And I have to kid you, I parlo Italiano. So I love to analyze people's names. And your name literally means what? Little Louis Three Legs. Am I right?
Little Luigi.
Luigino, little Louis, and
Yep.
Tripodi means it comes from the Greek, actually, 3 legs.
Yep, 3 legs.
So you can bust people's chops with that one. Hey,
Well, all day long,
am
and I get it every single day.
I am blown away. I used to live in North Caldwell, and I used to frequent North Montclair Fair. Your restaurant is the hot spot for North Jersey. It should be the hot spot
Thank
for
you.
Manhattan and everywhere else too. But a lot of people, I think, don't have a clue how much work it takes to do what you do and have the success that you have. So I love your bio. You were born in Greenpoint, which is like Swedish, Russian, Polish. You were raised in Fresh Meadows, which is predominantly Asian. You went to the incredible CIA Culinary Institute up in Hyde Park and graduated there. You spent 45 years in hospitality. You worked for the Ritz. You were executive chef at Metropolitan. I'll eventually let you talk. And you were the executive chef at the Palm. Hello in Manhattan. I mean, this is like royalty that I am in front of, and I mean that not in tongue in cheek. Why did you wait so long to open in Montclair?
That's a good question. Well, I looked at this property a long time ago. Well, actually, what happened was I was
sowing my culinary oats in the field, just trying to get as much experience as I can. And then our son Peter was born. Difficult birth and stuff like that. But my wife and my son are all okay. Everybody's great. Two beautiful people in my life. And I decided, you know what, let me go corporate style and go work for a company where I could do a 9 to 5 and raise my son. I don't want to be coming home at 12 o'clock at night feeding him, which is what happened. And I got disgusted by it. And I was like, I'm out. I'm done. So I did the corporate thing for a bunch of years. And I was looking at a piece of property years ago, which happened to be this place. It then became available. I turned 60. My wife looks at me like, you're absolutely out of your mind. And this is it. We pulled the trigger, and it's been great ever since.
But the thing, Luigi, I mean, the chance of restaurants surviving, let alone thriving, is so low. Talk about a risk. I could understand why your wife said that, but it paid off. What does it feel like to cast the die and then win the jackpot? That must be just an incredibly rewarding feeling.
Now, Montclair is a pretty diverse town. It sustains a lot of the restaurants that are here. And I knew we were going to be busy, but not this busy. I have an incredible staff. My wife and son do work here. My wife a couple of days a week, not really much, but she's a big influence on what I do every day. And my son Peter, great guy. But I have an incredible staff. I haven't lost, I believe, one person since we've opened. My kitchen staff is incredible. They follow my lead, but I let them do what they need to do because they're that talented. And, I work every day. We're closed Mondays and Tuesdays. And I take care of doing the specials and coming up with ideas and going over with the guys. And we have fun with it. And doing the 5-day thing, everybody has their 2 days off. They come back refreshed. We do bust it for the whole 5 days we're here because we're busy from when we open for lunch until we close.
That breaks the pattern. I've worked in restaurants for years, and to have 2 days off, that's unheard of today because it costs so much. But that's great. This is why you have staff that stays with you, because they actually have a life. Because obviously you're applying your own life and saying, why would I want anyone else to suffer? Let them have a nice life. That's a very generous thing to do, Luigi. And one of the reasons you could see, I think every other restaurateur should wake up and realize that this is a good idea. You come from a very diverse background, as you mentioned. We talked about all the different cultures. What influence did all those cultures in your growing up, from Asian to Swedish to Russian to Polish to Italian? What influence did that have on your cooking style and culinary style?
Growing up in Brooklyn, there was a lot of Polish, a lot of Italian, obviously. So eating a pierogi for the first time was kind of a treat, but the different cold cuts that they made, I fell in love with head cheese when I was a young kid. My grandfather, Grandpa Pete Pietro, which my son's named after, The Rock, he was the foodie of the family. And we would take a walk over to the Polish section near McCarran Park, and he'd, tell me in Italian, hey, we gotta try this, which head cheese is not really a cheese. It's basically a cold cut of all the parts of the head and stuff like that from the pig. It's just incredible. So when I tasted that, I'm like, man, this is good. So, you kind of, move to Queens now, and now it's a completely different world. The Asian community didn't move in until later on, but we used to go to this Jewish deli in Fresh Meadows that my father was enamored with. And the first time he really, I think, had a knish, a really good kosher hot dog, and that was it. That was it. We were entrenched. Stuffed derma. I know stuffed derma in the Jewish cuisine is something that you've done years ago. Same thing like the head cheese. It's just made with all the awful stuff. And to me it's incredible. It's divine to eat. I just love it. And actually a customer went to Brooklyn to a Jewish deli who still makes derma and brought me some because he knew I liked it. And I ate the whole thing.
This is poor food though, right? Peasant food, poor food. This is the
Peasant
food.
food.
Think about it. We had in northern Italy. There's something called cottaghino. Are you familiar? I don't know what part of
Yep.
Italy your family's from. My family's from
Yep.
Emilia Romagna. So that cottaghino. So that's a stuffed, all sorts of bits and pieces of and whatnot.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that's like a New Year's Day thing. You only eat that once in a while. But that's what they ate. They were peasants. They were poor. They didn't have anything. And the head cheese. One of the key ingredients, aside from ears and nose of the pig, is guanciale. They put a piece of
See?
the right. So that's why it's so darn good. And it's
Yep.
all the collagen holding it together. That stuff is delicious. But if you tell that to the average American today, they go, bleh. But
Yep.
it's wonderful food. That's the best tasting part of the whole animal. You have an incredible menu at Luigino Parmigiano, excuse me, that has kind of a culinary tour through Italy, because I see some dishes that are distinctly Sicilian, some that are distinctly Northern Italian, anything with the mortadella, that comes from Bologna. And then I see stuff that is Roman. You have Roman, like the Roman pizzas as well, right? What do they call them?
Pinza.
What are the Roman pizzas?
Pinsa. Pinza.
Pinza. Right. So that's their dialect of what is, probably originated from pita at one point from the Greeks. And then don't ever tell Italians that in Italy, they'll choke me. But our cousins from another mother. But it's amazing that you take us on this journey. Were you very, very careful? It looks like you were very, very careful at picking all the greatest parts of Italy when you put together that menu.
Yeah, what I wanted to do was to basically pay homage to the culture. Pay homage to what my family ate every Sunday, what I ate in Italy, going there for the summer. There's no tweezers in our kitchen. I don't think you could put anything with a tweezer on one of the plates, because we just don't put that much stuff in a dish. Everything is made incredibly simple. I think the only real Americanized stuff that we have on the menu is the parmigiana, but everybody loves a chicken parmigiana. They love a veal chop. The eggplant we make in a true style, that's in Italy, but we don't put it in the little metal cast iron container, the little pan that they serve it there. We put it on a large platter because we want people to be fed, because I was fed when I was a kid. Even though we were poor, we put a lot of food on the table. And that's what I want people when they come in here. The portions are big. Our prices are incredibly reasonable for what you get. But, for instance, we were talking about the guanciale a little while ago, and there was a couple that came in right towards the beginning. I knew the husband very well. I met the wife a couple of times, and she pulls me over and she says, "Your carbonara is awful." And I take things personally. So I looked at her, I says, "What's the problem?" She says, "There's no peas and bacon in it." So I pointed at the door and I was like, "Get out."
Right, because it's not supposed to be peas and bacon. Oh my God! I just ordered amatriciana. I just ordered some amatriciana the other night, and whoever made it with smoky American bacon, which it overtook the whole dish, and it's like, ugh! It was so smoky. People, I guess because a lot of restaurants you can't get. It's hard to get guanciale. A restaurant can get guanciale. For those who don't realize that,
but it's an Americanized version of the classic dish from Rome. But ours is guanciale, pecorino, little parmigiano, egg yolk, and fresh pasta.
It. Done.
And
that's the beauty of the dish.
Did leave.
Simplicity.
Huh?
She did. She left.
She left. Yeah, she was laughing. Her husband was hysterical. She's like, "You're not following me?" He's like, "Hell no." He says, "I'm finishing my cacio e pepe, and then I'm going to have dessert." But she came back in. We made up. It was fun.
I love it. And the fact that the husband was also eating a Roman dish, cacio e pepe. So he was having cacio e pepe, cheese and pepper, right?
Yep, that's it. It's a hard dish to make if you don't make it properly.
So its brilliance is in its simplicity. That's what I love about that. By the way, I'm just going to give Pam a heads up. Pam, let's move back the other interview to top of the hour. So this way we're not surprising you. I'm sorry to do the on-air direction with you, right? Thank you, Pam. All right, I have to ask you, because this industry is so fickle, sometimes restaurants do well for 3 and 4 years and then they peter out because, I've been there, done that, and then the new place opens up, if you will. How do you keep people coming in? Because it's been 2 years now, right? You still have the lines and you still have the 2-month waits. How do you keep people coming in?
You're at the front door. You talk to every table. You make new friends. You try to find new customers. Our social media is all over the place. I have an incredible lady, Deborah Smith, from Foxtrot, who does an amazing job. You have Cindy, who does our design work, who now what we're doing, because we've saved some money and we're doing some capital improvements, we're making actually a street scene outside of like you're walking in a little town in Naples, like a side street. So all the flowers, the pots, it's kind of going to be a southern Italy, Naples. That's what we're actually doing, and it's starting to come out really, really nice. And it's just keeping it consistent and just constantly changing the specials. We try to get as much as we can imported from the area where we live. We just, through one of my companies, found an espresso that is made, of course, the beans are near the equator, but it's processed 3 towns away from us in Italy. So we're bringing that in. So we try to bring a lot of the local products in.
What town in Italy is your family from?
We're from a small town called Castelruggero, which is about an hour south of Salerno on the Cilento coast, near a town called Torrios.
So is it like Sorrento? You have lemons everywhere, lemon trees every place?
Mostly olive and fig trees where we are. There's lemons, some orange trees, things like that. But, it's just beautiful, beautiful countryside. We're going to buy a house there, hopefully.
And well deserved. But I guess that keeps you working your 15, 18-hour day, knowing that that's where we're going to be in that beautiful sunshine on the beautiful Amalfi Coast, and enjoying the olive trees and the I fichi, olive, and the beautiful arance and limoni. I pay homage, sir, because again, having worked in the industry, I worked in it since I was 12 years old, and my family worked in it. My dad, we had everything from a luncheonette to a deli to a pizzeria to a formal restaurant. It's just a life's amount of work to make it successful.
Come on in and we'll do some cooking together.
You know what? I'm going to take you up on that, for real. I love it. Please come back on anytime, especially the holidays. If you have anything you want to promote, we'd love to have you on. Luigi, molto grazie. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Place is called Luigino's Parmigiano. It's in Montclair. Check out the place. Luigi Tripodi. Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. It is now 41 degrees. It's 7:57, and we're going to have sunshine, a bit breezy today, highs in the low to mid 50s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta comes back with a full Garden State forecast. Checking your calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching ONNJ Mornings. Don't go away. Good morning. It is 7:59 now, 41 degrees. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. Excuse me for looking away for 1 second. I got to do click, click. There we go. I control the teleprompter to my left. It is just a beautiful morning right now, but not so much last night. If any of you were up between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock, you know what it was like. A lot of storms rumbling through. There was even a tornado warning for one part of New Jersey. Fortunately, the tornado never occurred. Maybe there was some mid-air rotation. But nonetheless, meteorologist Mike Favetta warned us it might be coming, that severe weather would be coming. And exactly like that, it happened. The severe weather did come through. Meteorologist Mike Favetta. I love how we've been saying we're in a water deficit, a rain deficit. Mother Nature said, yeah, I'll give it to you all at once, and just dumped it all on us.
Right, all it was, almost 2 inches. And I just put up the radar animations from last night. They're on Instagram, so if you want to check them out, they'll be shared momentarily to the On New Jersey page, showing that rotation within the clouds. You can see how that twister was forming in the sky before Probably not reaching the ground. Again, the Weather Service pretty adamant that there were no reports of the rotation touching the ground. No survey team going out as of this morning. But of course, that could always change now the daylight is upon us, and local crews get kind of a scene of what's happening there in Monmouth County. Our forecast for the rest of New Jersey: sunshine and chilly today. Much cooler, with temperatures only in the low and mid 50s. Clouds taking over in northeastern New Jersey. They're from Wayne and Hackensack, and more sunshine as well there in the northwestern corner from Sussex County and back over toward Warren County. Into this afternoon, as the drought continues in northern New Jersey, still extreme with that area in red over toward Millville and back over by Medford. This, I think, will improve big time by later on this week. The drought monitor is updated every Thursday by noon, and I think we'll see an impressive amount of the improvement that we'll see given how much rain fell just last night. And this map obviously will update as well with all of the impressive rainfall amounts that occurred last night. Little bit of a 1 to 2 inch, maybe on the more than 2 inch mark right there on the Orange County border in New York, up in Sussex County. So big rainfall deficit in the last 30 days. And again, northern New Jersey didn't receive as much rain as the rest of the state, not even picking up a ½ inch last night. There is some cooler weather on the way in the next 2 weeks, as opposed to out west, where there's above average temperatures expected for a good portion of the American West. But our weather here in New Jersey should stay with equal chances of wet and dry conditions. And that's pretty much the norm and what you'd see on the 7-day, with a little bit of sun, a little bit of rain. We get just a mix of each and every day, with cooler weather taking over for today and tomorrow. Next chance of rain comes in on Thursday, late morning, early afternoon, a little sprinkle with a warm front that pushes our highs into the 70s and maybe even the 80s in some parts of the state. Clouds return with cooler weather for Thursday, and we cool down for the weekend. Both days, Saturday and Sunday. I think more clouds Saturday with some showers, maybe a break in the cloud cover by Sunday, but there will be some rain both days. Even at the shore points, keeping it cool as well with the easterly breeze tomorrow. Temperatures say 53, but it maybe only feels like the 40s with that mist and drizzle by the end of the day. Clouds as well for Thursday. Friday, see some sun, and then cooler as well at the coast both days, Saturday and Sunday, with some of that shower activity lingering into next week. A very April-like forecast, Ken, going into next week with those on and off sprinkles.
Well, you're speaking about the sunshine that we're going to have today. Look at this. To your left, TV right, that was the lightning outside of my home last night. And that was about 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. And it was just continuous. I mean, the whole house was shaking, and it was quite impressive lightning. I made sure I stayed covered inside, literally just cracked the door open for a second to get that. But that was some serious, look at that.
That happens this time of year with the cold front that comes on through. Yesterday, the projections were a 15% chance of severe hail, which means that there's enough cold air low in the atmosphere to allow that hail to form. And just like static electricity, anytime you get particles moving together in the atmosphere, the hailstones are convecting in the cloud, rubbing up against each other, generating that electric charge and creating the static, and therefore you get the discharge shown as lightning. So a very impressive scene there with the tiny hailstones that weren't necessarily reaching the ground, but making for an impressive lightning show last night.
If we could only harness that energy, we wouldn't need to have power plants. That would be amazing. Unreal. All right, sir. Thank you very much, Mike. Always impressed by what you have in terms of your info. I appreciate you. We'll be back in a little bit with you. It is now 8:03 and 41 degrees. That was nice. Let me show you ugly. You ready for ugly? Here's ugly. Right here. You got the cam? That's ugly. Right there's ugly. So this is mile marker 107.1, which is interchange 15E of the Turnpike, the eastern spur of the Turnpike. This is this is for like 1 and 9 that takes you to Newark and Jersey City, and it is stopped. So we I don't know if it's just delays from volume right now. I'm taking a look at the reports, and I'm not seeing. Let me scroll. I don't see that there's an accident reported, but there may very well be, because that isn't just slow, that's stopped. So again, if you know anybody who's headed on the eastern spur, New Jersey Turnpike, that's by interchange 15E. That hasn't moved. for about 5 minutes. Not one car length. That is just parked. So beware of that. We do have some other problems as well, and I think a lot of it has to do with downed trees and tree limbs and some standing water from all the heavy rain we had last night. Delays on Route 70 westbound approaching 206 in Southampton Township. All lanes are open, but delays due to volume. We have delays on Route 73 southbound south of High Street and Maple Shade. That's by Fellowship Road, Mount Laurel Township, actually. All lanes open, but delays due to volume there. Route 21 has delays southbound by the Exit 9 ramp, Route 3 in Clifton. Just a lot of volume there. Delays at the Lincoln South Tunnel eastbound. We have, again, volume. That's about a 35-minute ride into the city. And let's show the GWB approach, Pam. That's 121.8, if we can bring that up. Also very, very slow traffic making your way into the George Washington Bridge. This is both upper and lower roadways. We have about a 45-minute ride to go across. Oh, they moved the camera on us. They moved the camera. But you can see down at the bottom of your screen by our phone number, that's the crawl. The left side is the upper level approach. That's actually out of the screen. The right, what you're looking at is the lower level approach there on the right. But that is the approach. It is just heavy. Yesterday, 24 hours ago, quick flow. Today, not so much. All right, let's come back on cam. 8:05 is our time, and we're officially in the home stretch. Tax season is upon us. The IRS filing deadline just 2 weeks away. Of course, for those of you who say, when is it again? We only talk about it every year. It's okay. Yeah, they change it every year. It's a pain. People forget that. All right. For many, this means facing a mountain of paperwork and the daunting task of getting everything in order. If you don't want to be burning the midnight oil to beat the clock so that you have the stamp by the 15th, experts say now is the time to act. And don't bring your CPA 600 pages of information on the morning of the 14th. Don't do that. Joining us now is E. Martin David Off, who's a nationally recognized CPA and attorney with over 35 years of experience. He's a partner in charge at Prager Metis in Cranberry. Marty, thanks for being with us. How many times in your career have you had people say, hey, Marty, and come in with 6 boxes on the 14th? Here you go. Could you get this in on time for me? How often does that happen?
Well, not too frequently anymore. They send it to me electronically through the portal. So I get the 600 pages through the portal.
But is it easy? I have to ask before we get into the specifics of this. I'm just curious. How automated is it today for an accountant? And you do forensic accounting, right? You do the serious stuff like for people being audited, but like just doing regular accounting, quote unquote. Is it pretty automated, just pump in the numbers, or is there a lot of, you still have to go line by line and check everything out?
Well, it really depends on the type of records. Normally, our businesses will have bookkeepers who will keep track of everything, and we just review the information, make sure it makes sense, that it's in the right categories. And for example, if somebody puts in a category called insurance in their business, there are like 6 different kinds of insurance, which are all treated differently for tax purposes. Life insurance is treated differently from disability insurance, which is treated differently from insurance for your employees, workers' comp, which is treated differently for fire and theft insurance. So all of those have to be treated somewhat differently. So you need to train your clients on how to categorize everything in this. But more and more, there's automation. Eventually, there are going to be bots doing this. But again, it's kind of garbage in, garbage out. If you don't program it correctly, it's going to come out erroneous, and on audit, it's going to be a problem for those who have businesses. For individuals, it's a little bit simpler. You're getting something from your brokerage companies that have all the brokerage pretty much in there, and we have software that allows us to scan them in and put them in the right boxes. But again, it still requires a human component, and it still requires some planning. Are you going to open up an IRA? Are you going to fund a retirement plan? What are you going to be doing, between now and year end? And of course, trying to gather all of your information, like your K1s from your investments.
Yeah, it's funny because filing as an individual for years, it was easy. I would make sure by February 1st, make sure you get everything stacked up. You should have, during the year, I kind of accumulate whatever I can, but by February 1st, I like to have everything in a stack. And my rule always was by February 15th, get it all to the accountant, because people can file illegally and try to claim your refund, right? If they filed first, there's a lot of that fraud that occurs. So I try to get mine in as early as possible. Have we seen
Right.
that being cut down at all, or is that still happening?
Well, it's still in the, you know, probably about a million items of identity theft each year, and you can prevent that by getting individual PIN from the IRS. It's called an IP PIN, and if you get that, that prevents people from filing under your Social Security number. But you're correct; people will make fake W-2s and file under whatever Social Security number they can find and utilize. So that's why it's not a bad idea. One of the things you should be doing is going to the IRS.gov website and search IP-PIN and get yourself a PIN number so that when you file your return, they're going to look for a PIN.
Now, Martin, in the past, you've said the job one is making sure you gather all those important documents before filing. It's not like if you're a chef, they call it mise en place. You make sure you have your onions chopped over here, your garlic chopped over here, and as you said, garbage in, garbage out, good stuff in, good stuff out, right? So if you get everything organized as you do it, a little by little each year, then at the end you're not going to have that panic attack. Like, what is this form? How is that form? So for somebody who's just starting the process now, who didn't organize, what are the must-have forms and records that they have to make sure they track down immediately?
Well, as we've talked before, the first thing is to decide who's going to prepare the return. Is it going to be you, or are you going to hire a preparer? The second thing is to gather those documents, and the third thing is to get an IRS account online, so that you can see any matching notices and the like, and confirm your estimates. But the information you have to get your W-2s, your 1099s. Now, one of the things, if you have an investment, or maybe you're the beneficiary of an estate, you're going to get a K-1. A K-1 is an information report for people who are investing through corporations or LLCs or partnerships, or who have a beneficial interest in a trust or an estate. And often people, don't have their K-1 for their investment, and they want to file their returns. And they think that they can't file their returns. But the reality is that you can. You can make an estimate of the income and file a Form 8082 so that you're not held hostage to getting the K-1. Now, it's better to get the K-1 if you can, but sometimes people are saying, well, I didn't file my return for 3 years because I never got a K-1. Well, I will tell those people, file on time or on extension. All right, it may be appropriate to get an extension. And then, if necessary, file a Form 8082 with your return saying, I didn't get a K-1, but here's my best estimate of the income I would have had.
That's the key. Don't evade. Just get it done. Get something in, because you're better off amending it later, maybe paying a little interest or whatever, right? As opposed to not getting the tax return in. That is the key. Get it in on time or file for an extension. And let's talk about deductions. How can taxpayers ensure that they're taking advantage of every possible available deduction for them? And are there any commonly overlooked deductions that you see in your practice?
Well, people want to claim the child care credits and the child tax credits. Those are often overlooked. And basically, in terms of itemizing your deductions, the deductions are medical, charitable, taxes, and miscellaneous itemized deductions. 90% of the people can't itemize because the standard deduction, almost $30,000 for a married couple, the standard deduction is so high, and they've limited the number of deductions that you can take by eliminating some of the miscellaneous itemized deductions. So most people can't itemize their deductions. But again, just make sure you're not falling into a trap where you're going to get third-party reporting of information. You're going to get a matching notice from the IRS, a love letter from the IRS saying, hey, you didn't report your income. Now, one of the things here is, some people get stock options and they exercise them. And they say, oh, all that income's included in my W-2. But what happens is there's a sale that's taking place with probably a very tiny little gain or loss. But if you don't report the sale when that stock is exercised, the IRS is going to send you a notice saying, you have $10,000 of income, because they don't have the basis of that thing. So anybody who's having stock options, make sure you're getting the information on where the stock got sold. Give it to your CPA, and that, along with the W-2 and the information from your personnel about your stock options, will prevent a lot of heartache and notices.
And for people who've had like a big life change, maybe a new address, a name change, even a new job. What steps do they need to take to make sure the IRS has the correct information?
Well, they can check on their online to make sure that the IRS has correct information. Make sure you use your correct addresses and your filing status on your tax return. Basically, just make sure your tax return is accurate, and the IRS will absorb all of that information. And that's what you need to do. Just gather everything and just think about, did I contribute to a retirement plan? Did I sell any stocks? Did I get married? Did I get divorced? These change the way things happen. Did my parents leave a trust for me? Or did they pass away and leave an inheritance to me? These are all things that you need to, understand and think about as you gather your information. And CPAs and other tax preparers, enrolled agents and the like, they have questionnaires. Go through those questionnaires because they're checklists for making sure that you hit everything.
And this is, I've said it, I say it every time you're on. Spend the little extra money, because in the long run, it's not $5, but it's not $100,000 either. Spend the little extra money and invest in a good CPA, because it will reap you rewards in the long run. I'm sorry, no offense to those little tax preparer companies, they're great, but they're good if you just have a one-sheeter. But if you need to file a tax return and you need to itemize, that gentleman right there and his ilk, there's a reason why you go to college and get a degree and have a certification. I have used a CPA for 30 years, and boy, oh boy, does it take a lot of stress off when you folks know the law, and there's a reason why it's an industry. So thank you so much. What little bit, what do you see as an annual thing that people forget, a simple thing that people forget every year?
Well, you know what? They don't forget it every year because I teach them in the prior year, hey, you forgot this, make sure you hit it. But basically, probably the one thing is people are not paying estimated taxes, or their withholding is insufficient. So they're getting hit with a penalty at the end of the year. So that would be something that I see as a very common mistake, not having enough withholding. Or on the other hand, over withholding so much that you're getting this huge refund, and you could have been getting interest on T-bonds at 4 or 5%. Right. So, make sure your withholding is correct, and also if you need to, make sure if you're getting penalties for the underpayment of estimated tax, make sure you're paying your estimated taxes each year. And thank you, Ken. It's really been a pleasure. I look forward to you being on here next week as we come down to the wire.
That's really crunch time. That is really good. I just got my taxes in yesterday, all my stuff, because this year I formed an last year formed an LLC. So now so I'm officially an independent contractor, but that means meticulously taking care of paperwork and filing of it. And you know what? In this era of this, it's pretty easy. You could scan in your receipts. It goes right into the different categories, and literally I just printed it out and handed it to I handed it, but I know you could email it. It's just so much easier in this era. You could do it the right way. Just organize yourself once in the beginning, and then the rest takes care of itself. It is such a pleasure.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's a good point. Get yourself organized and have somebody help you set up the systems. There's a lot of software to help you out there. You're absolutely correct.
Right. One-time investment, and it'll just take so much day-to-day stress off your shoulders. All right. Nationally recognized CPA E. Martin Davidoff, our friend Marty of Prager Metis in Cranberry. Thank you as always for joining us this morning. And next week we'll be all set. I'm going to have 2 cups of coffee ready when you come in.
Great. Have a great weekend.
You too, Marty. Take care. It is 8:18 right now, 41 degrees and sunny, a bit breezy today, highs in the low to mid 50s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta will be here in just a minute with the full Garden State forecast. And we are still taking calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching ONNJ Mornings. Don't go away. welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 8:19, taking your calls at 888-658-0234. Sunny, a bit breezy today, much better than it was yesterday and last night. Highs in the low to mid 50s. Right to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning to you, Ken. Ken, I can't wait for next week's segment with Marty, especially, coming into tax season. I had to participate, legally required, was audited. My business was audited in 2017 and had receipts from 4 currencies, because that was the year I moved to Europe, and brought the business over to Italy. Made stops along the way, had climate change research visits in multiple countries that did not use the euro. So it was like translating from the Danish kroner and the Icelandic mark. I mean, all these different wild things, spreadsheets galore, but in the end, it worked out, and the IRS actually owed me money. So
there you go. But did you use a CPA? That's the key, right?
Absolutely. That's the best,
they use
because
a CPA.
As he says, you don't want those, those silver bracelets, when you try to avoid the taxes. So very, very important. Very important. Yes. Well, we've got some great weather today to get out and enjoy. Maybe if you turned in the documents on time, you can take a breath and enjoy the clear air that's on tap for today. Lovely weather, as opposed to the nearly 2 inches of rain that fell last night. Very, very heavy wet weather that came through New Jersey, leaving more than 1.5 inches of water on the ground there, almost 2 inches toward Toms River, up toward Jackson and Alapin. Some very heavy rainfall with the front. Now we're left with temperatures in the 30s and 40s. So it's chilly, it's breezy. The cold front did its job of clearing out the milder air from yesterday, thanks to that northwesterly wind. Now at 8:21, gusts up to 26 miles per hour, and it is a solid 20 degrees colder than this time yesterday in Mount Holly. So you feel the change, especially after that rain last night. That was the line of storms. It exited as some light showers just around 5 a.m. there in Toms River as the front pushed on through. And for the rest of the day, the future is nice and dry and clear. So with temperatures holding in the mid 50s as our highs today, that's average for April 1st, but I think going into the weekend, that's where some clouds start to return thanks to an easterly breeze as soon as Wednesday, day after tomorrow, bringing back some cloud cover into Thursday with a little chance of a rain shower Thursday afternoon, and temperatures warming even further into the upper 70s and low 80s. But again, we'll see another round of wet weather on Friday, and with those showers sliding on through New Jersey, it keeps us cool into the weekend. So a April feel with some showers around each day beginning Thursday, and temperatures hold in the 50s this upcoming weekend. The next few days featuring a milder day by Thursday with a few chances of rain. That's the warm front pushing in, but still cooler by Friday with some clouds and showers just ahead for the weekend. We'll give you more details coming up and time out the weekend forecast, Ken. That's in a few minutes with your next weather update.
Mike. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm just showing Pam. Yes, I apologize. I said I found a camera for our traffic that is just ugly, so we're going to bring that up right now. But thank you, sir. And yes, last night was quite the thunder boomer. I should mention. Every time I saw lightning, I kept thinking, Mike told us. Mike told us. So it's always good to have a professional like you. We're talking about a professional like a CPA, and there's a professional like a meteorologist. There's a reason why you all go to college. So thank you very much. I appreciate you, sir. It is now 40 degrees at 8:23. And Pam, in case you lost the camera, I'm going to say it live on the air. This is, you got it right. Thank you, Pam. Pam's on top of it. So what you're looking at right here is the New Jersey Turnpike Eastern Spur, southbound exit ramp by interchange 15E, which is 1 and 9 in Newark. Believe it or not, all lanes are open, but there was a crash. There was a crash on the turnpike. It happened just about 5 to 7 minutes ago. You can see now that truck trying to go down the shoulder to get around stuff. Not a good idea. This mess it's only 5 minutes old, but you have bumper to bumper stopped traffic. And all it is actually a crash that has been taken off to the right shoulder, but it's a multi-vehicle crash. And that is what's causing this mess. There's probably emergency vehicles trying to get there to the right side behind this camera, the camera that's looking at these trucks. That's probably where it is. But you can see the damage is done. This is, again, the New Jersey Turnpike Eastern Spur, southbound exit ramp at interchange 15E, Route 1 and 9 in Newark. The lanes are open. but this is stopped traffic. We have some other issues, delays at the Holland Tunnel now, the South Tunnel eastbound, about a 25-minute travel time in. That's all due to volume. We have delays on Route 440 southbound by Route 9, Garden State Parkway interchange, Woodbridge Township to south of Exit 2, which is Edison Township. Current travel time is about a 20-minute travel time, so that's pretty slow through there. And delays on 295 southbound from north of Exit 32, which is Haddonfield Berlin Road and Cherry Hill Township, to Exit 26N in Belmore. All lanes are open, but a lot of delays due to volume. And once again, we should mention, we haven't been doing it as much, the I-80 cam by Exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. Everybody's still being detoured off in both directions. This is going on. It's going to be going on the westbound side for another 5 weeks. Eastbound side, it'll be another 7 weeks at least until they can shore up all the underground voids. They haven't even gotten final approval yet on their plan. They've submitted it, but they're waiting. It should happen at some point this week, so they could. Then you'll see. You'll say, "Why is nothing going on there?" And it's going to be our director, who knows that area well, to say, "What a nightmare!" But I'm sure they didn't. The folks taking care of this area did not realize what they were going to be encountering. 90 underground voids from old iron mines. Yuck. It is 8:25. Investigators say a New Jersey state trooper shot his dog at his Wayne home last week, leading to his arrest. They say the trooper also assaulted an officer outside Wayne Police Headquarters. Officials say it happened very early last Thursday morning at a condo complex in Wayne. Folks living in the complex say they heard some noise and possibly a gunshot. Wayne police were called. They say they found a man in the parking lot acting erratically. Officials say that man was later identified as a New Jersey state trooper, Alexander Lark. Police say Lark also vandalized a stop sign. Lark was charged with aggravated assault, resisting arrest, criminal mischief, and possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose. You would think by now people know it is illegal and dangerous to text and drive, yet it still happens way too often. In fact, I recently rented a car and found out there's a little beep now that occurs in some of the newer cars. I was naive to this. If you're stopped at a light and the car in front of you takes off and you don't take off immediately, this beep alerts you, "Hey, idiot, you're probably on your phone. Stop that." It's a way for the car's automation to make you pay attention, but it shouldn't be necessary. We shouldn't need a feature like this. Pay attention. Law enforcement is now cracking down in the Garden State as of this week. Heads up, police will be looking everywhere for anybody who is texting and driving. And if you get caught, they're not going to let you get out of it. This is zero tolerance. So please do, if you ever said, I shouldn't text and drive, especially starting this week for the next few weeks, do not get caught texting and driving. By the way, even if you're at a stop sign, you're not supposed to look down at your phone. If a cop sees you, you can get a ticket. 8:27, a very bad day for one New Jersey man. He was arrested Friday at Newark Liberty Airport. He tried to board a plane going through security checkpoint with a gun. It was an accident, apparently, but you can't do that. The unidentified man is the 7th person caught with a gun at TSA. At Newark Liberty this year. 21 people got stopped last year compared to 20 in 2023 and 14 in 2022. Now, if you forget what the rule is or you don't know and you don't Google it, the rule is you can transport a gun on a flight, but the gun must be unloaded. You have to pack it in a locked, hard-sided case. You have to declare it to the airline. Call in advance and let them know. And it has to be stored underneath in the jet's belly, not under your seat. The jet's belly. In other words, it can be nowhere accessible to you during the flight for obvious reasons. A person can be fined up to $15,000 for trying to make it through a security checkpoint with a gun, and you could face criminal charges. You can get arrested in the New York Tri-State for that. 8:28, have you ever tried to buy a ticket for a concert only to find that the ticket scalpers and resale agencies already scooped them all up? You want to buy a ticket now, you're going to have to pay a scalper hundreds of dollars, right? Well, you probably asked why nothing could be done about this. Well, many would say it's because lots of people are making money keeping things exactly as they are. Along comes President Trump. President expected to sign an executive order to protect Americans from what he calls exploitive ticket scalping in the concert and entertainment industry. Yesterday, he had Kid Rock in the White House in the Oval Office. Kid was talking about the problems with these ticket scalpers. Take a listen, Pam.
Like anyone who's bought a concert ticket in the last decade, maybe 20 years, no matter what your politics are, knows that it's a conundrum. You buy a ticket for $100, by the time you check out, it's $170. You don't know what you can charge for it, but more importantly, these bots. they come in to get all the good tickets to your favorite shows you want to go to, and then they're relisted immediately for sometimes a 400 or 500% markup. And the artists don't see any of that money. And, ultimately, I think this is a great first step. I would love down the road if there would be some legislation that we could actually put a cap on the resale of tickets. And I'm a capitalist and a deregulation guy, but they've tried this in some places in Europe, and it seems to be the only thing that's us as artists be able to get the tickets into the hands of the fans at the prices we set.
So President Trump's executive order would direct the Federal Trade Commission to work with the Attorney General of the United States to ensure that competition laws are enforced in the concert and entertainment industry. The order will also enforce what's called the BOTS Act, Better Online Ticket Sales, and it'll promote the enforcement by state consumer protection authorities, because let's just face it, it is not fair what's going on here for people who are trying to buy concert tickets and having to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars when the ticket says $80. It's ridiculous. And it's because there's a lot of people overseas using the internet to scoop up every ticket the minute they become available using bots, and then they resell them to you, making thousands of dollars in some cases per ticket. Not fair. It is 8:30 right now, 41 degrees. The phone lines are open, taking your calls at 888-658-0234. When we come back, Passover is almost upon us. We'll speak with a kosher wine expert with tips for the perfect Passover wine and make it a great holiday for you. Also, meteorologist Mike Favetta says sunny, a bit breezy today, highs in the low to mid 50s. The full Garden State forecast in just a moment. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings, seen daily at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News On, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. And now we stream live on Rumble and Twitch at twitch.tv/OnNewJersey. We'll be back in a minute. Very good morning to you. Tuesday, April 1st, 2025, April Fool's Day. It is 41 degrees at 8:31. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. Sunny and a bit breezy today, highs in the low to mid 50s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the detailed Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. Quite a bit of rain fell last night, but we're looking forward to the sunshine today. Beautiful, clear weather this afternoon after almost 2 inches of rain fell in that short time span, leaving some pretty big puddles across New Jersey. There's 1.89 inches over toward Trenton. With our forecast nice and clear, the radar is quiet. The skies will turn sunny throughout the course of the day, and maybe a few passing clouds by this afternoon. I think we'll stay dry into the end of the day, given how many tornadoes happen year by year in New Jersey, with 40 being the record number of tornadoes back in 2021. We typically start to see the peak in the tornado count month by month in the summer months. So here we are in April. Usually get to see 1 to 2, but once we get over toward the month of July and August, that's like our tornado season here in the Garden State. Tends to bring those counts much higher, upwards of 3 to 4 per month. With the forecast bringing back a quiet afternoon from Clinton and Flemington, temperatures in the 50s, there will be some gusty breezes. So you will notice a cooler breeze out of the north and west, at times gusting to 20 miles per hour there in Toms River, making it feel a little bit cooler. That wind will help blow around the tree pollen, which is at the moderate level. Allergy sufferers know exactly what I'm talking about. Feeling that a higher level of pollen over through the next few days, especially with the dry weather and breezes today. So right now at 8:33, a 28 mile per hour wind gust in Morristown, 29 mile per hour wind gust in Flemington. It'll be breezy today, even in Atlantic City, keeping the winds gusty, but also the winds from the north and west, and that keeps things dry going into the afternoon. Once we get into tomorrow morning, winds shift direction, blow from the east, and that will bring back a cooler feel with the wind off of the water, making it feel quite pleasant until the sun kind of hides behind the clouds for Thursday. So today's UV index up at a 5, which is moderate, 1 digit away from the high level. So we're almost there, getting back to our afternoons full of UV. The clear sky right now over New Jersey looks great, and I think we'll keep it that way this afternoon with nice dry conditions across New Jersey. Temperatures holding in the 40s overnight and then the 30s by tomorrow morning, right around freezing in Sussex and Morristown, even over toward Flemington, before briefly warming into the 40s tomorrow afternoon. With that wind out of the east, it pulls in some of the clouds, it pulls in some cooler weather, and also some overcast skies for Thursday morning. But then the wind switches direction again, pushing in a milder breeze by Thursday afternoon. We could be up in the upper 70s, low 80s by the end of the day Thursday, with some breaks in the clouds. By Friday, we're back to some light showers. It's a little wet to start the weekend, and Saturday and Sunday also looks pretty wet too, with some showers that return and linger into the upcoming weekend. So hour by hour, we'll take you through Saturday's forecast. Yes, some rain around Saturday morning. Same for Saturday afternoon with some clouds, and then another round of wet weather comes in later Sunday into Monday. So that wet weather kind of hovering around New Jersey going into the first part of next week before clear sky returns for Tuesday and Wednesday, so the middle of next week looking drier. Temperatures hold in the 50s this weekend, maybe getting to the 60s at best, but overall, it's a cooler and cloudy feel with some rain and drizzle on tap this weekend. So a little bit of a wet scene for the first weekend in April, Ken.
All right, Mike, thank you so much for that. Just glad we got through last night and we have a little replenishment of the water at least. I'm sure we could still use a little more, but definitely good to start the warmer weather, not in as big a deficit as we were in just like a month ago. That was a bad situation. So, all right, Mike, thank you so much, sir. 8:35 now, 41 degrees. We have more problems on the roadways. Let's take a look right now at that same camera we looked at about 10 minutes ago. This traffic cam, they moved the camera. That's all right. They moved it in the direction of the traffic is heading in. This is the eastern spur of the New Jersey Turnpike in the Newark area. This is by exit 15E. And you could see from an earlier crash that it was moved over to the shoulder, stopped. This has not moved now for about 20 minutes. These people are parked. So I'm assuming it's because they're trying to get emergency vehicles out to move the vehicles off the shoulder to take care, or they may even have a medical situation. Don't know. I'm just hypothesizing. But you can see, oh, okay, maybe the camera's moving to give us a better idea as to what's going on. Oh, this is to see the Pulaski Skyway, to see if it goes over. Let's see. We'll learn together. Yeah, so they're trying to see if it goes to the Pulaski Skyway. So apparently it's moving over the Pulaski. See that? It's moving slowly. Thank you for whoever's operating the camera. We get why you're doing that. We do understand. But you could see that's a way of saying, hey, it will move, but just now bumper to bumper trying to get off onto that. So there you go. Live. We're learning together, folks. Other roadways to watch out for. Heavy traffic on Route 206 southbound from south of the International Drive exit at Roxbury Township to Flanders Road, Mount Olive Township. And that is about a 15 to 20 minute travel time due to sinkhole detour traffic that we've been talking about from I-80. Pam is telling us the other 80 looks nice. All right, let's look at it. There we go. So that's not bad. People are now used to it, unfortunately. It's like being used to having a scab reopen every single day. The poor people who have to deal with I-80 through exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton, New Jersey. This is going to be going on for another 5 to 7 weeks. The westbound traffic will reopen in 5 weeks. At least 1 or 2 lanes will. Eastbound, not for another 7 weeks. So right now, everyone's still being detoured off due to sinkhole repair in Wharton. It's 8:37, and the Jewish holiday of Passover is just around the corner. It begins at sundown April 12th, so that's 11 days from now. Runs through April 20th. Families around the globe are preparing to celebrate freedom with festive meals, matzah, and of course, wine. Passover isn't just a time for storytelling and tradition. It's also the Super Bowl of kosher wine, with 40% of kosher wine sales happening just before and during this 8-day holiday alone. Here to guide us through the top kosher wine picks for Passover 2025 is Jay Busham. Gotcha. Vice President Director. It's just my mouth hasn't gotten to work yet. I haven't had enough coffee yet, Jay. I'm sorry.
You know what I say? I say, call me anything. Just don't call me late for dinner. That's all.
To make sure there's a glass of wine in your hand, a good one. Vice President and Director of Wine Education at Royal Wine Corp in Bayonne. I want to make sure we get that name out there. Jay, welcome. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, I love the way you have your setup there, the vino right in front. That's perfect. Passover, of course, is such a wine-centric holiday, the tradition of drinking the 4 cups during the Seder to celebrate freedom. What makes the holiday the Super Bowl of kosher wine, and how has Royal Wine Corp stepped it up for 2025?
Well, every single person at the table has to have 4 cups of wine, and that includes man, woman, and child. So, children, of course, will not be drinking wine, but they can drink grape juice instead. So, Kedem has sparkling grape juice and light grape juice and all kinds of stuff. But the adults in the room want something really great. And it was that sweet, syrupy stuff. Now, there's wines from all over the world at all kinds of price levels.
Kosher wines have really come a long way. I was a Catholic priest, and whenever we can't get quote unquote altar wine, whenever we couldn't get, if we were on the road or whatever, we always went to kosher wine because kosher wine is made the same way altar wine. It can't be it can't be adulterated. It can't have ingredients other than wine. So it's the same rule. So we always relied on kosher wine because we knew that we could trust kosher wine for that purpose. And I just knew that when I was celebrating Mass over the years, the kosher wines went from the sweet syrupy, as you mentioned, we won't mention the names, up to really fine wines today. So there's been incredible growth in the kosher wine industry. Now you have varieties, boutique wineries, even organic options. What has driven the boom, and how does Royal Wine Corp stay ahead of the trends?
Well, at the turn of the last century, when Jewish families came to America initially, the only wines available were the local wines, which were Labrusca varieties, which means that they were very low in sugar and high in acid, and they just added a ton of sugar to make it palatable. But over the years, with great transportation, we were able to bring in wines from all over the world. And so we have wines from New Zealand and from the famous Bartonura Moscato from Italy, and of course the Herzog wines from California. And Jewish people are the same as everybody else. They just want something. If they're going to have to drink, let's drink something good. And so we've stepped that up, and we're trying to give everybody a choice of something really wonderful.
And by the way, I love that you make Passover the special holiday that it must be. I have friends who, one friend of mine who was raised, his father was a conservative Jew and his mother was Reformed. And he kind of said, nah, I don't want to celebrate the holidays. He got married, and I actually, being the former Catholic priest, I actually sat him down and had the little come to God moment and said, listen, don't let thousands of years of rich tradition end because you think you're not interested. Don't deprive your children, your wife, of the beauty and richness and history of Judaism. Tell the story. If you don't even want to get into the religiosity, tell the history of Judaism in Passover. It is so beautiful. Now, getting back to this, I'm sorry, I had to editorialize a moment. Just
Please,
if you haven't
I
done
have some editorializing about that as well. You asked earlier why it's the Super Bowl of wine, and the answer is that on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah and all the other holidays, you have to go to synagogue. You know what you have to do on Passover? Show up at the table, enjoy 4 glasses of wine, some great matzah, some great talk. Exactly to your point. Exactly to your point. Mr. Priest, that it's all about sharing the history. It's all about sharing each other's viewpoints on that. So, and if you can do that over a glass of wine and over some great food and matzah, all the better.
But the even additional beauty of it is that every step of the way, every food you're eating has a history and a purpose and a meaning, and it teaches us a lesson. And everyone, Jewish or not, you learn the lesson of life and history and struggle and accomplishment and achievement and victory. It's sitting down at a Seder. It just do it. Spend the time with your friends and your family. And I know the first night is the special night, but like the second night, if you're a Gentile and you're invited by a Jewish family, go and enjoy. It's such a wonderful thing. Now, if you want to bring a great bottle of wine, say you're a Gentile and you want to bring a nice bottle of kosher wine, You have offerings ranging from $20 up to $500. You were talking about the Herzog Generation 8 Cabernet Sauvignon you have there. That's a really amazing wine. There's even the rare kosher Grand Cru Rougeot from France. What makes these wines so special, and for whom do you buy these wines?
Well, you can in the Jewish areas, especially in places like Lakewood and Teaneck and areas in New Jersey where there's large Jewish communities. There's also large retail wine stores that have the selection. One of those selections, as you talked about, also comes from the Herzog. It's called the Yesod. I'm trying to rip off this. This is called Yesod, which means foundation. And this wine, ranges from about $200 to about $400, depending on which variety of the Yesod label you get. But also, at the same time, you can get a bottle for $12, a Cabernet for $12 or $15, and a French Grand Cru Bordeaux, Margaux actually, from Las Combes, which is, close to $200. Wines from Spain. Here's an Elvi from a family that was, they can trace their roots back to when the Spanish, got rid of all the Jewish people in Spain. And so they came back and started making wine for the first time as a family in 500 years. So there are so many. And of course, you cannot forget probably the most important category to make sure you try to incorporate in your Seder is a wine from Israel. So that speaks to not only, enjoying the Seder at whatever price range you want with great wines, but also speaks to the history of, coming from Egypt for religious freedom to the Holy Land, where they ended up making these wines. So that's there's a really great variety of wines from all over the world. Even the Rothschilds are making wine. Now, this particular Rothschild wine comes from New Zealand, but we have Rothschild wine that comes from Bordeaux as well. And keep in mind, there is no difference between kosher wine and non-kosher wine, except for the fact that it is kosher and that the rabbis have the oversight to make sure, like you said earlier, about altar wine, that it's pure and nothing is adulterated about it. So that is really the difference between kosher and non-kosher wine, just that it's the oversight is there and that it's purely made. And so you can get wines from all over. Israel, New Zealand, Italy, Spain, of course, California, and France.
A lot of people, Jay, a lot of people don't realize, like in Italy, they're in the city of Rome, there are over 300,000 Jews who can trace back their history thousands of years to Rome. That's one of the richest, oldest. In fact, there's a whole cuisine, Roman cuisine of Jewish cuisine. Artichokes. All the artichoke recipes in Rome are the traditional Jewish. They call it il ghetto. The ghetto means neighborhood. It doesn't have the connotation we have here. Right, and the Jewish ghetto in Rome is where they have the most incredible restaurants. It's such a rich historic part of the city. So it's just beautiful to see the wines from there come here to be celebrated during the high holy days. It's so wonderful. Please, if you are Jewish, celebrate or respect and honor and continue the tradition of Passover. And if you are not Jewish and you are invited to somebody's home over the holidays, please respectfully go and learn and enjoy. It's such a beautiful
Father, I have to tell you, there are many, many, many ecumenical Seders. I mean, we know of churches and of restaurants that are not kosher that just celebrate the holiday because, like everybody is Irish on St. Paddy's Day. It's one of those things where people can all show up, talk about history, talk about the richness of family and freedom, and really enjoy Passover with some really great wines.
Amen. Vice President and Director of Wine Education at Royal Wine Corp in Bayonne. What is the website? Really fast. We have like 5 seconds. What's your website?
www.royalwine.com.
It's a great site. Jay Bussbaum, a blessed Passover for you and your family. Good Yom Tov to all. Thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome.
All right. It is 8:48. We're going to forego the break, Pam. So let's go straight straight to our guest if we can. Thank you. So we mentioned before that we actually, you know what? No. Sorry, Pam. We have Mike standing by. Let's do Mike fast and then we'll go to center. Sorry for the on-air direction. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the last forecast of the day. How's it going, Mike?
Very good. I'll give you the quick forecast for today because it looks pretty down the shore. Lots of sunshine, temperatures in the 50s. We will hold there through the next several days, enjoying a pleasant feeling, which is quite average. Look at all the clear sky after those clouds cleared out last night. We'll stay nice and dry through this afternoon until we get to Thursday, Friday timeframe. That's when our rain chances go up, especially by Saturday. The weather just updating this morning, showing that 70% chance of rain on Saturday, dropping off by Sunday. So it does get very wet. Well, at least the air quality is good until then, thanks to the nice, dry, pleasant air. There goes the front, keeping our skies clear today. High pressure in control. Looks pleasant until some warmer air takes over by Thursday, allowing for highs to reach the low 80s in some spots. And then by the weekend, this front kind of hangs across New Jersey, giving us our chances of wet weather going into the weekend. So as far as the 7-day is concerned, it will be kind of wet starting on Thursday, lasting into Friday and the weekend, with rain on and off each day throughout Saturday and Sunday. Again, temperatures briefly peak in the upper 70s and low 80s, even at the shore. Could get up to around 70 Thursday before cooler, cloudy, rainy weather takes over this weekend, Ken. Hope you have a great rest of the day. And of course, you can always get the updates on New Jersey/weather on newjersey.com/weather. The website even posted more about that tornado warning on the social pages. So be sure to check that out too.
Awesome stuff. Meteorologist Mike Favetta. Thank you, my friend. Have a great day. We'll catch you in the morning. It is 8:50 now, and skyrocketing energy costs are hitting New Jerseyans right in their wallets. Recent hearings held by the state legislature have shed light on why consumers can expect to pay more this summer, with utility rates potentially rising by as much as 20%. Joining us now, New Jersey State Senate Republican leader Anthony Bucco. Senator, thank you so much for coming on this morning. And you've been vocal about the recent BPU hearings on rising energy costs, calling them one-sided and posts on X. Tell us what happened during the hearings and why you feel they just didn't fully address the concerns of all the ratepayers in New Jersey.
Well, I think my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have taken this approach of blame everybody but themselves. And I just think they got to take responsibility for the policies that this administration has enacted. The Democrats have had control of the legislature for 8 years, complete control. And this is a result of some bad policy decisions they've made in terms of our energy master plan. You know, this is a simple formula. It's about supply and demand. And when your supply can't meet the demand, the prices go up. And that's exactly the position that this administration has put us in. And that's what's causing these rise in electric rates.
Well, consumers are bracing for those utility bills that could jump significantly, as we said, maybe 20%. From your perspective, what specifically is driving the increases? Is it Governor Murphy's energy master plan? I know he's with his green taxes. People think, oh, it's so nice to be green. It's so nice to be green. And meanwhile, it's like you forget that switching over to these, unproven, not fully implemented policies is going to cost you money. That's the problem. So is it the shift to renewables like offshore wind that was a debacle? What is costing us this additional 20%?
Well, you're right. I mean, it's a combination of a couple of things. One is it's the complete shift to renewable energy in a short period of time. And at the same time, increasing demand by trying to make New Jersey a complete electrified state. So you can't go to a new type of energy source that's not proven, that's not reliable, that's not even online yet, or the infrastructure isn't available, and at the same time, then increase demand by saying that the state's going to be completely electrified by 2035. It just doesn't work, and they should have foreseen this. When you increase demand, you've got to increase supply. And by cutting off clean natural gas, by not trying to push towards a small nuclear generating option, those things take energy off the grid. And what happens is you end up in states of high demand that you have to go out and purchase from other states. and it's counterproductive to the state. If you want clean energy for a clean environment, which we all do, if your demand is low and and your demand is high and your supply is low, and you've got to go to the grid to purchase it to make up the difference, you're buying it from other states that are coal producing plants that are exactly what the state's trying to avoid. So it's just not working. And we've been sounding the alarm for about 5 years now. I've written numerous op-eds on it to the press and to the papers, and they just ignored all of these warnings, and now we're left holding the bag. The chickens have come home to roost.
Senator, it's almost like the liberals saying under Biden, let's shut down oil exploration and let's shut down coal plants and let's shut down natural gas. And then what ends up happening? Like you said, there is no infrastructure. We don't have enough of the so-called renewable forms of energy. And by the way, natural gas is clean. Nuclear is clean. But the liberals, 20, 30 years ago, they were fine with that 40 years ago. Today, you can't even mention nuclear. You can't mention natural gas. Natural gas used to be the solution in the 70s. They are so dense and they get something in their minds and it becomes their religion that you can't even bring it up. It's like telling a Christian there is no Jesus. They'll just bark at you and they'll storm off. It's unbelievable that climate change and the idea of green energy has become a religion for these people. How severe do you think the impact is going to be on certain communities during the summer when there's a 20% increase, especially if you're on a fixed income? Where are you going to get the extra 20%?
Look, the ratepayer advocate at the hearing said, people could die, that it was going to affect their health if they can't run their air conditioning during the heat of the summer. It is going to be a big problem. And the operator, PJM, testified that we could end up like California and see rolling brownouts during the height of the summer when demand reaches a peak. They may need to go to the suppliers and say, cut back. We just can't keep up at this pace. And if they do that, it's really gonna have a negative impact on our folks. Not only the affordability aspect of it, but now potentially their health, and that's a shame because this should have been foreseen. It was predictable. Many people, not only Republicans but the experts in the field, were sounding the alarms. And it just seemed like this administration and the folks making these decisions at the BPU just ignored them at every step of the way.
And this is the way it is on the left. They don't want to hear it. There is no discussion. There is no debate. They know best. They always end up bringing us into a debacle, and then there's no answer afterward. They just say, deal with it. But meanwhile, the people who make the rules, they still have nice electricity and cool air conditioning while everybody else has to suffer for the sake of green craziness. New Jersey State Senate Republican leader Anthony Bucco, you always have a place here to come. Please join us again, and we thank you for joining us this morning. Good luck with all this legislation.
Thank you. We'll keep up the fight.
Please do. Thank you, sir. 8:57 now, 41 degrees. Meteorologist Mike Favetta. A bit breezy today, highs in the low to mid 50s. That is on New Jersey Mornings for your Tuesday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Don't be fooled today. I'm Ken Rosato. Remember, you could stream us at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. We also stream live on Rumble and Twitch. Just go to twitch.tv/OnNewJersey. We'll catch you again bright and early tomorrow morning at 7. In the meantime, please pick up the phone. Tell all your friends about us. Hey, did you hear about this on New Jersey show? That Ken Rosato is so cute. I love him every time. Tell all your friends about us. If you don't like us, though, forget it. Till then, have a take care.